make sure little Paul doesn't fall over here. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Morning Bible. Sorry again that videos recently have been quite sparse. Yeah, it's you know, there are periods in your walk with Jesus where you have really good discipline, and there are periods where you don't. And I think it's important to be quite sort of honest and open with that. And so I think for the last few weeks it has been one of those times where I've got up in the morning and I've said, actually, you know what, I want to have breakfast, I want to have a coffee first, and I'll do a video later. And then doing a video later becomes, oh, I'll do a video this afternoon, and then, oh, I'll do a video this evening, and I'll do the video before bed. And it's like, actually, it's fine, I'll just skip today's video and I'll just do tomorrow morning. And then that just hasn't happened. And then another day will pass and that won't happen again. And that's not the way it should be, right? Because, yeah, you shouldn't be putting your time with Jesus off. And I do spend time with Jesus when I make these videos. It isn't just something where I'm doing these totally academically. It's actually a period where I sit down with my Bible and I actually think into what Jesus wants me to do. I pray into that and I read about God's Word, both my sort of Bible readings for these videos, but then at the same time I'll also do my own personal Bible readings outside of that. I'm going through other books. And so, yeah, I think this is, I had a friend send me a video, I'll put a link to it in the comments, in the description, sorry, where it really convicted me this morning about actually your faith needs to be, there's no point waiting until later to get your faith sorted. Your faith needs to be in the right place now. And so this is me kind of grabbing hold of it again, and fighting back that laziness that creeps in, that sort of I don't know, that when you take your faith for granted, that's always the time where it slips back. And so fighting back against that. So it's it's kind of a strangely appropriate passage for today. We're in Luke chapter 22, going from verse 31. And this is still sat around the table, the Last Supper table. Yesterday we had, well, not yesterday, last video, we had them arguing about who was the greatest. All of the disciples sort of get into this petty squabble about, well, who's the greatest disciple? Who's going to be sitting, at Jesus' right hand? And Jesus sort of puts them back in their place. And so today we've got Jesus foretelling something which is sort of much more pointed and quite difficult for the disciples probably to hear, for one disciple in particular. So let's read what he has to say. Jesus says, "Simon, Simon, behold, Satan demanded to have you, that he might sift you like wheat. But I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned again, strengthen your brothers." Peter said to him, "Lord, I am ready to go with you both to prison and to death." Jesus said, "I tell you, Peter, the rooster will not crow this day until you deny 3 times that you know me." So, Jesus is talking to Peter here. It says at the top, Simon. If you remember way back right at the beginning of Luke, when Jesus first starts to gather his disciples, there was a man named Simon who Jesus calls to him and says, "Your name is now Peter." And that sort of change of name marked a new life for him. That happens quite a lot in the Bible. A person will have a name before they meet Jesus, but once they've met Jesus, they have a changed name, they have a new identity, they have a new self. And that's characteristic of what God does for us. He clothes us with new clothes. He puts on new righteousness. He gives us a new sense of self, a new identity, when he thinks we need it. But when Jesus starts talking to Peter now, he refers to him as Simon right at the beginning. And so that's kind of, that isn't Jesus saying that old identity is still, who he is, it's still valid, but that's Jesus speaking into it, actually, you may not have shaken all of the person who you once were. There may still be a bit of Simon in Peter. So Jesus says, "Simon, Simon, behold, Satan has demanded to have you that he may sift you like wheat." So the word "you" here is actually quite interesting. I didn't realise this. But in English, we have the word "you" referring to a single person, so saying "you" over there. But then we also have the word "you" to refer to multiple people. So if there's a big crowd, you say "you," right? And there isn't a distinction between the single way of saying "you" and the plural way of saying "you," where in a lot of other language there is. Like in French you have "tu," which refers to a single person, and "vous," which refers to multiple people. So So when the Bible is translated into English, it loses that separation between the single you and the plural you. And so here Jesus is actually talking in the plural you. He is addressing all of his disciples with this phrase. Although he says Simon, Simon, he's drawing Peter's attention to this. The first bit he says is actually to all the disciples. He says, Satan demanded to have you all. Satan demanded to have you all, that he might sift you all like wheat. So Jesus is saying, look, Satan has demanded that all of the disciples are sifted like wheat. So when you sift wheat, you kind of put it over a mesh and you shake it so the bits fall through and some bits don't. And so that's kind of what, that's the symbol of what Satan's going to do. He's going to shake the disciples. He's going to sift them and see who falls through, see who slips up. But then the plural you, shifts to a single you. So then Jesus starts to address Peter directly. He says, but I have prayed for you, Peter, that your faith may not fail. That doesn't mean Jesus hasn't prayed for the other disciples. That doesn't mean he doesn't care about the other disciples' faith. But he's saying this specifically to Peter because Jesus knows what's going to come. He says, I prayed for you that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned again, strengthen your brothers. So these two sentences going side by side is quite strange because Jesus says, I prayed that your faith won't fail. Right, so that makes you think, oh, he'll be fine. He won't fall. He won't have an issue. But then Jesus says, but when you turn again, strengthen your brothers. So turn again makes it seem like Peter will fail, but then when he comes back, he'll have to strengthen them. And so that's essentially what's happening here. Jesus knows that Peter is going to fail. So when Jesus says, I've been praying that you won't fail, it isn't that you won't fail at all, that you won't run into any issues. It's that you won't fail completely. Your faith won't completely fall. You will deny me, you will sort of turn away from me, but I will still be in your heart and I will pull you back. Right, that's what Jesus' prayer is. And he's saying that when I pull you back, I will strengthen you more than you were before, and you'll strengthen your brothers through what you've gone through, which does come to pass. And so Peter replies to him. Peter says, Lord, I'm ready to go with you both to prison and to death. Peter's, he's like, no, I'm not going to fail. Of course I'm not going to fail. I'm going to go with you to prison and to death. There are so many times where we have that moment in our faith where we're like, yeah, Jesus, I'm all in. I'm all for you. Everything's good. Going to be great forever and ever. Everything is going to be totally fine. But actually, Jesus challenges him on that. Jesus says, I tell you, Peter, the rooster will not crow this day until you deny 3 times that you know me. So Jesus gives us a scenario of what's going to happen in future. It's kind of like when Jesus arranged the dinner table for this meal that they're sitting at, when Jesus sent his disciples. He said, you're going to find a man carrying a jar of water. Go and speak to that man. He will take you to the place. There'll be a room prepared upstairs. And they did that, and that's how it was. Jesus is saying the same thing here. He's saying that at some point today, you're going to deny me 3 times. And the rooster won't crow before that, but as soon as you've denied me 3 times, the rooster's going to crow. You're going to hear a crowing noise. And so that's that must be terrifying to hear as Peter. That Jesus sort of knows this is coming because you've seen Jesus, get things right all the time. So to have him predict something like this about you, you're just sort of stood there like, whoa, that's not true. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not going to let that happen. But sure enough, it will happen later on. But actually, Jesus is true to his prayer before that. He says, and when you have turned again, strengthen your brothers. So Jesus knows that even though there's going to be this period in Peter's life where he's turned away from Jesus, actually Peter's going to turn back to him. When he does turn back, he's going to strengthen those around him in a really powerful way. And that's the same thing Jesus promises with us. If we have a period in our life where we're not as attentive to Jesus as we should be, or even where we fall away from him entirely, where we're completely by the wayside, and have nothing to do with him, we don't have him in our life at all, that actually Jesus still wants us to bring us back. He's still praying that our faith won't fail, and when we do come back, he will strengthen us and he will strengthen those around us through what we've done. So yeah, that's today's passage. Quite a relevant one, but hopefully it marks a turning point where my Bible reading will now be fully back on track. I'll be back in it, reading every day, getting everything done, and We'll be praying for you guys too. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye bye bye.